Hello and welcome to the Euro podcast from sportsbet.io. This is this week's Serie A version, but don't forget there is a Bundesliga and a La Liga version on the channel for you to watch every week as well. We're joined as always by our good friend in Italy, Daniele Veri. Daniele, we're going to start with Atalanta against AC Milan because Atalanta still keep going. They still look like one of the best teams in Serie A. They've not got a huge injury list and they're taking on an AC Milan side who are getting players back to fitness, whose front line is starting to work. But in terms of value, in terms of a chance, I think Atalanta are in with a great chance here.
Yeah, they definitely have a great chance. I mean, they play at home in front of the crowd. They've been performing at home very well in the last years. So the last AC Milan victory in Atalanta must have been the one when they won the league back in 2022. They won that at the end of the season, but I mean, it was not an unbeatable, but a running AC Milan. And AC Milan so far isn't a running machine. I mean, they alternate good performances and setbacks. I mean, it looks like they have started gelling on well. Yeah. They did well in Coppa Italia in the midweek against Sassuolo. Obviously, Sassuolo second tier, but still a quality side in that sense. I mean, Atalanta have to be considered favorite, but you never know with AC Milan. Obviously, AC Milan have been struggling in terms of defense. This is the issue with AC Milan. This has been the issue last year and basically so far also with AC Milan, with signs of getting better. Yeah. But there is still the issue, and Atalanta are extremely dangerous up front with Lookman coming from the side, with Retegui scoring every week, week in, week out. I mean, Theo Hernandez is missing at the weekend. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's good or bad in that sense. I remember him scoring a fantastic goal against Atalanta in Milan. Was it last season? A fantastic, massive goal. But in terms of defensive performances, he's been struggling hard this season. So
I think Atalanta are worthy favourites here, and the way they're playing at the moment, they are genuine title challengers in what is a really tight top end of Serie A. Juve would have liked to have been better challengers. This is, of course, the Thiago Motta derby. Bologna's away form is pretty solid. Juve drawing games left, right and centre at the moment. I'd love to sort of say, well, Juve as the favourites here are the team to back, but for me, this looks like a draw.
I don't know. I think Vlahovic will be back on the pitch, and this is obviously great news for Juventus. I mean, they've been struggling up front with absentees, also with a lot of absentees. So having a striker up front who can convert chances is obviously very important for them. Not that Vlahovic has been playing that fantastic so far this season. So one of the point of criticism for Juventus is that Vlahovic up front is very much alone all the time. Then that he works a lot also towards the midfield, playing with his back to the goal. It doesn't get much chances. It doesn't get feeded enough, so to say. So at some point, maybe we will see Juventus, if they have to play with a central striker like Vlahovic, who's very much different to Zirkzee, the kind of striker that Thiago Motta had at Bologna last season. So we might have to see somebody who plays a little bit closer to him, so to say. Because at the moment it's quite difficult with 4-2-3-1. Koopmeiners is not getting close enough. Those two on the wings rarely partner with him up front, really in the sense that they play 1-2 balls. So it's difficult. I mean, having him on board is great news, obviously great news. Bologna are a solid side. They got better and better. They're not spectacular. They did well in midweek, going through easily to the Coppa Italia quarterfinals. It's an open game. I mean, I don't know. Juventus is unbeaten. There's a reason for them to be unbeaten still. It's the fact that they play very solid football. They defend as a collective. They are aggressive in midfield. They're strong at the back, despite the fact that they're missing two important players like Abal and especially Bremer. So Juventus is not to underestimate. Obviously, they've been coping with a lot of absences recently. They had 9 players missing at the last weekend.
It's a really interesting game. I just can't. It's hard. You don't necessarily want to back Bologna, but Juve, even with Vlahovic going back in, they just seem a little tight, like you were saying, not really helping each other out at the front either. You also mentioned the Coppa Italia there, Daniele, and there's a really interesting sort of back-to-back sort of head-to-head here, because tonight, we're recording this on Thursday morning, Lazio host Napoli. At the weekend, Lazio go to the Maradona to take on Napoli as well. So firstly, we have this weird thing of, does that Coppa Italia game, whatever that result is, carry into this next one? But the fact of the matter is that Napoli are top. They are probably still the best team, but they are being chased by a lot of clubs. A couple surprising ones, but they're being chased by a lot of clubs right now. Do Napoli in the squad have it in them to carry on being relentless, to carry on winning, to get that title? And will they beat Lazio at the weekend?
Okay, so I don't think that tonight's game will mean a lot regarding the weekend game, because we will see different teams on the pitch. So at least a lot of turnover from both managers. Okay. So Coppa Italia is definitely more important for Napoli than for Lazio. Lazio, they also play Europe. They're playing very well in their Europa League campaign. So Coppa Italia is something which is more important to Napoli due to the fact that they only have 2 competitions, Serie A and Coppa Italia this year. Having said that, do Napoli have all it takes to win at the weekend? Yes. Do Napoli have all it takes to go all the way through the season? Possibly, yes. So far, I mean, they've been playing very solid football. They never concede. They got the second best defense in the league. There are things that still need to be worked on. Kvaratskhelia seems to be a bit almost sacrificed in his position. He doesn't play as free as he used to do in the winning campaign, Napoli winnings campaign 2 seasons ago. Politano oft acts as a fullback rather than a winger, so to say. So this is why Napoli have won so many games by 1-0. So they are very solid at the back. Also, people up front, players up front, tend to help a lot when it comes to not conceding. Like Politano, as I said, he backs up all the way to the defense. Things have been going very well for Antonio Conte so far, but he's building momentum. I remember the first time he won the league with Juventus, when he finished the season unbeaten with the Montari goal from AC Milan that wasn't given in the direct confrontation between Juventus and Milan. I mean, he built momentum also with a lot of draws that season. This year, he's winning all those games. So things might change from here to the end of the season, but I do see Napoli getting more and more confident with weeks passing. So it's a matter of fact that they have faced the Inter Milan, Atalanta. They only lost to Atalanta at home of all of those big games. It's a matter of fact that Napoli are there to go all the way, even though, understandably, Antonio Conte says, we are not title contenders, or we are happy to be there. We work week in, week out, or day in, day out. We don't have long-term goals. We are here just to start a process, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, these are things that every manager has to say in such a position. Having said that, Napoli are somehow impressing me for the speed in which they picked up Antonio Conte's mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy league. There's 6 points between first and sixth. So any team in that top 6, you could even argue, I suppose, to a certain extent, AC Milan, if they got going, could be involved in that in 7th as well. So it's an unbelievable league this year.
Let's not forget that AC Milan have to play their game against Bologna, which they didn't due to bad weather condition a couple of months ago. Same goes for Inter and Fiorentina, or Fiorentina and Inter, whose game was suspended last weekend.
And we will finish with a Fiorentina game. Inter have got quite an easy winnable game this week, so we don't really need to go, I think, hugely into that. But this Fiorentina-Cagliari game is, I think, a lot more interesting because, again, this Fiorentina side, one of the two biggest, maybe even the biggest surprise, I suppose, to a certain extent, because Atalanta have been going well for a couple of years.
And Lazio also. Lazio are doing very well. Lazio are doing very well.
But I mean, what has Palladino done to get Fiorentina into a title chase?
I don't think Fiorentina will go all the way to the end, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Having said that, Fiorentina has already surprised me to be there at the moment because of the fact that Ken is playing a great season, he's scoring goals, and I have to admit, I didn't expect that. But being a central part of the project, feeling important for Palladino, is definitely something that made him perform the way he's performing at the moment. So he probably needed to feel a little bit of care or a little bit of interest and warmth by his manager rather than being one of the 4 or 5 strikers at Juventus. So being there in a position where he's alone, so to say, makes him perform much better in terms of self-confidence and everything. What has done Palladino? Palladino is a good manager. Palladino was a good manager. He proved that in the last 2 seasons at Monza. Came in, took a little bit of time. I mean, he's a different manager to what Fiorentina was used to. But, I mean, he doesn't request impossible things, so to say. So they play 4-2-3-1 formation. So it's normal football. But apparently, I can imagine, I don't know him personally, so I can't say which kind of person he is. But apparently, he touched the right chords, or he talked to people and made them feel also important. Colpani coming from Monza. Gudmundsson, we haven't seen much from Gudmundsson yet. He scored 2 goals with 2 penalties against Lazio, but that's all. And Gudmundsson, believe me, is a player that when he come in, when he will fit, he will play an important role for Fiorentina, and the fans will realize how good he is. I mean, in the defense, they not found because he was already playing last season, but Comuzzo, a very young player, is a buongiorno kind of defender, very aggressive on the man marking, maybe not spectacular, maybe not particularly good in creating from the back. But if you put him man marking against a good defender, he can man mark. So it's one of those defenders that you can always be happy to have on board, so to say.
And you've just got to try and keep, I suppose, as well in the summer, where if he continues.
Yeah, he's a young player. He grew up in the youth sector of Fiorentina. He's got a strong bond to the club. Obviously, you never know because, I mean, there were other players that had a strong bond to Fiorentina, and then in the end they got sold for 60 plus, 80 plus. So Comuzzo might be the next one. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But, I mean, hat off in front of Palladino and its team because they are doing well and they are at the moment a side that can give anyone a proper game.
Right, let's finish with just some score lines if we can. These are just guesses, Daniela, but let's try. So Atalanta AC Milan, what scoreline are you going for?
Mate, you're making my life difficult.
I know, I'm sorry, it's part of the game though.
No, that's all right. 3-2.
3-2. Juve Bologna, scoreline.
1-0.
Napoli Lazio.
1-2.
1-2. And Fiorentina Cagliari.
0-1. Sorry. 0-1. Napoli don't concede 2. Change my mind.
0-1. So 0-1. And then Fiorentina Cagliari?
2-0.
2-1.
2-0. 2-0.
2-0. There you go. There's some scorelines for you as well if you want to.
So every big team, so to say, or every title contender wins apart from Napoli.
I'm going to.
Whose cushion is still large enough to keep first place at the moment.
I think
We want to have it interesting in Italy.
I think Napoli win, and I think Juve draw. That's where I'm going to go different to you, Daniele. Thank you so much, as always, for your input. Maybe we'll speak to you ahead of next week's Serie A fixtures. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and check out all the other videos on the Clubhouse TV YouTube channel. And make sure at all times, folks, you are gambling responsibly.